Would you like to learn how to knit this elegant, super simple leaf? It's versatile and can be used as applique, and knitted in wire it can make unique jewellery, and it's a lot easier than it looks. Keep watching to see exactly how to make a leaf like this for yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Kat and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm a knitwear designer and a blogger at knitcatpaddywhack.com, and my aim is to make knitting accessible to everyone, from busy mums to creative kids. So today I'm really excited to share with you this really simple and elegant leaf tutorial, and I think it's a really basic shape that a lot of new knitters with a few skills can have, and it's just useful to have in your repertoire. So I've used a version of this pattern, as you can see, for lots of different things. So I've made it in yarn just to make this simple brooch, and with a really basic leaf, basic rose sewn to it. This is also really simple to make, so if you'd like to see a tutorial for how to make this brooch, just comment the word brooch down below. I've also done this leaf in wire, as you can see here, so I've used 36 gauge wire held double, so 2 strands of it, and I've made this earring. I've also made this earring with gold and purple wire knitted together, held together, with some beads added as well, and that was really effective too. And this third thing that I have here is the headpiece that I wore to my wedding, which went with my hand knitted wedding gown. And I'll link down below a blog post about my wedding gown, because a lot of people are interested in how I did that. But as you can see, it's just 8 leaves sewn together with some dark brown ribbon to match my hair, and that was really simple and effective. And I also made this leaf on its own to use as a pendant for the necklaces that I gave my bridesmaids on my wedding as well. So it's a really versatile pattern. You can use it as applique, and you can knit it not just in yarn. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm going to assume you've got a few basic knitting skills for this tutorial. That would be the knit stitch, the purl stitch, casting on, and some basic increases and decreases. So the increases we'll be using are make one to the right and make one to the left, and our decreases we'll be using our slip, slip, knit, and knit 2 together. So I'll link some tutorials down below for those techniques if you're unfamiliar with them. And so the things that you'll need are some yarn. So this is just some 8-ply or double knitting acrylic yarn that I had. That's green, so that works for this pattern, and some needles that are appropriate for your yarn. You could also use wire, but to begin with it might be helpful just to start with yarn and to practice it. So I'm using 3.75mm needles, which is the same as a UK 9 or a US size 5. And this works for me. I've got slightly loose tension, so for the average knitter for 8-ply yarn you'll probably be looking at 4mm needles. I should also add that I am Australian, as you might be able to tell, and I use British terminology mostly for my knitting. So if I say casting off, I mean binding off. If I say stocking stitch, I mean stockinette stitch. So yes, keep that in mind. I also should let you know that I knit in continental style, which means I hold the yarn in my left hand, although I am right-handed. So if you think I'm knitting a bit strangely and you're not familiar with continental knitting, that's what I'm doing. So we've got our needles, we've got our yarn. We'll also need a darning needle and a good pair of craft scissors, and that's basically all we'll need. So let's get started. What we're going to do to begin with is just cast on 3 stitches. So I like to use long tail cast on, but any basic cast on that you know would be fine. A cable cast on would also work really well, and I'm sure I've used a cable cast on for this before. And that's my 3 stitches. So just to give a bit of an idea about how this is going to work, we're starting at the bottom of the leaf, and we're going to do a few rows which will increase, and then we're going to do some rows that will decrease for the top of the leaf. And this middle stitch here, that is if you can think of that as the spine of the leaf. So we don't increase or decrease on that stitch at all. We increase and decrease one stitch either side of it. So our first row, we're going to knit one and then make one to the right. I hope you can see that. And then knit one, our spine of the leaf, that's the central stitch, and then we're going to make one to the left. Oops. And then we'll just knit the last stitch. So we've gone from 3 stitches to 5. And the next row is a wrong side row, and we're going to purl all the stitches, and for all the even numbered rows we just purl all stitches, so no increasing or decreasing. Okay, so now we're on to our third row, and it's the same pattern as before, so we keep our central stitch as it is, and either side of it we make one. So we do make one to the right before it, and we'll do a make one to the left after it, and that should get us up to 7 stitches total. So we'll knit 2 and then make one to the right. You can see that that makes, hope you can see, we'll make a right leaning increase. And then we'll make one to the left, which will make us a left leaning increase. And I think this is just a tidy way to do it. You could also use a more basic increase like a knit front and back, but I think this is just a little bit neater. And then we'll knit our last 2. And next row again is a wrong side row, an even numbered row, so we'll just purl all the stitches. Next row, same pattern as before, we'll keep our central stitch the same, and we'll do a make one to the right before it and a make one to the left after it, and that will get us up to 9 stitches. So we'll start off by knitting 3. Oops, lost my stitch. And then we'll make one to the right. I hope you're starting to get the idea here. Make one to the left and then knit 3. And we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 stitches. And we'll do our wrong side row. Now this one is going to be our last increasing row, and it's the same again. We'll knit up to the central stitch, and then we'll do a make one to the right before it and make one to the left after it. So we knit 4, and we'll make one to the right, and then we'll knit 1, knit our central stitch, make one to the left, and then we'll knit 4. And that is all of the increased stitches, so increased rows. So we're ending up with 11 stitches. I'm going to knit my purl row, and then after that we're going to decrease in a very similar way up to a point. So I'll just do my wrong side row. Okay. Sorry about the lighting, it keeps changing. I'm using natural light, so when the cloud goes over the sun, we lose our light a little bit, but hopefully it's still bright enough for you to see. So we're going to start doing our decreases. So we're going to knit 3, and much like our increases, we're doing our decreases either side of the central stitch. So we're going to do, where we did a right leaning increase before the central stitch, we're going to do a left leaning increase, just so that it kind of follows the shape of a leaf. So a left leaning decrease will be a slip slip knit, and then our central stitch, and then we'll do a knit 2 together, and then we'll just knit our last 3. Now this pattern works the same, so I think I'll speed through the next little bit, but if you just remember, it's the same as this last row that I've done. So we knit until 2 before the central stitch, we do a slip slip knit, we knit the central stitch, then we do a knit 2 together, and then we knit the last remaining stitches. Okay, so I've gotten us up to 5 remaining stitches now, so I'll work the next row just so you can see I guess it's slightly different, but also in a way it's the same. So we knit until 2 before the central stitch, but because there are no, at the start of the row there are only 2 stitches before the start of the central stitch, we just do a slip slip knit, knit our central stitch, and then a knit 2 together, and that's that row done. And then we'll do our wrong side purl row, okay. And then we're going to do a central double decrease. So we'll do slip 2 together knitwise, knit 1, and then pass the 2 slip stitches over. And then we've got a nice central double decrease. And then what we need to do is just cut a tail. We'll get our darning needle and thread the tail through, and then just fasten it off on the last remaining live stitch. And then we'll weave in our ends, and then once we've weaved in the ends, the leaf is finished. But as you can see there, we've finished our leaf, and it's nice and leafy shaped. And like I say, it can be really versatile and useful for all kinds of different projects. So that's all you need to make this really simple leaf pattern. I hope you liked it, and you can let me know in the comments below, and please check out the link to my blog post about this pattern. You'll be able to find it in written form there. And yeah, if you're interested in this kind of video, I'm hoping to post really simple tutorials for people who are either beginners or just don't want to knit but don't want to have to think about it too much. So I'm thinking of kids who are learning to knit, even adults who are learning to knit, and also busy parents and people like me, you know, I've got an 18-month-old daughter and it's a real challenge to find time to knit. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, please subscribe. I'm hoping to post 1 or 2 videos a week. So that's all from me. Bye!